Welcome back to The Explainer. So glad you're here today because we're diving into the absolute ultimate differentiator between a good business and a truly great one. You know, whether we're talking about a massive global corporation or just that little coffee shop down the street from you, there is a fundamental pulse keeping the whole operation alive. Today, we're going to figure out exactly how that beats by uncovering the hidden mechanics of operations management.
Think about it for a second. How exactly does a dirty, raw potato sitting out in a field reliably and safely become that perfectly crispy KFC fry in your hand? Or how does tapping a few buttons on your phone seamlessly result in a bank withdrawal? Well, it isn't everyday magic. Actually, it's a highly deliberate, meticulously planned sequence of actions. It's the art of transforming simple raw materials or even raw data into a finished, highly valuable output.
Let's dive right into this. The formal term for all this behind-the-scenes action is operations management. It's the business function involved in the utilization of resources to manufacture products or provide services. Basically, it's the engine handling the transformation process. And it is incredibly important to note here that this isn't just about physical products moving down an assembly line. Not at all. It applies equally to intangible services. Take an airline, for example. They're processing tickets, flying passengers, managing baggage from point A to point B. That entire logistical valet, that is operations management in action.
So why does this matter so much? Well, operations management ties directly back to a company's bottom line. Literally, it's survival. By managing operations well, you're driving cost reduction through sheer efficiency and way less waste. You increase your revenue because, frankly, you're creating superior products that people actually want to buy. It becomes a massive source of new innovation, drastically improves profitability, and crucially, it ensures effective customer service. All of this rolls up into one giant outcome, protecting and elevating the brand's image and reputation. Simply put, if the engine fails, the whole brand fails.
Okay, here is our roadmap for today. We are going to deconstruct this complex business engine across 5 clear areas. First, the engine of every business. Then, the transformation model. Third, categorizing operational processes. Fourth, designing products and processes. And finally, total quality management.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, the engine of every business, operations strategies.
You can think of operations strategies as basically the brain of this engine, and it is constantly focusing on the customer's needs. On one hand, we have operational guidelines, and on the other, the tangible, positive results they actually yield. So if your strategy is doing things right the first time, well, that directly leads to higher quality and zero rework. If you focus on doing things fast, you naturally get shorter lead times. Changing things quickly leads to way greater adaptability in the market. This isn't just academic theory. These are the direct cause and effect levers that managers pull to absolutely dominate their industries. So the question is, how do we actually pull those levers?
Moving right along to Section 2, the transformation model, inputs and outputs.
Okay, so every single operation has to start with inputs, right? And we divide these into 2 distinct categories. First up, we have transformed resources. These are the things that are actually being changed, like raw materials, information, or, get this, even the customers themselves. Think of a hair salon. You, the customer, are literally the resource being transformed. Second, we have the transforming resources. These are the agents actually doing the heavy lifting: your human resources, the equipment, the facilities, and the technology.
Putting those pieces together, you get a continuous flow. Our inputs, so both the materials waiting to be transformed and the staff and equipment ready to do the transforming, they all flow into a central phase, the transformation process. This all happens within a specific environment, and exiting the other side are the outputs. Boom! Those are your final products or services. Every single business on Earth, from Apple to your local dentist, operates on this exact fundamental flow.
Which brings us to Section 3, categorizing operational processes. Manufacturing versus services. While that basic flow we just talked about is universal, the specific transformation engine looks vastly different depending on what a business is actually making. We basically divide the whole business world into 2 camps, manufacturing and services. In manufacturing, processes can range from totally unique, one-off projects like building a suspension bridge, all the way down to continuous systems, like a massive petrochemical refinery that just runs 24/7 without a break. Services, on the other hand, are categorized totally differently, moving from professional services to service shops and finally mass services.
When we're classifying service providers specifically, we measure volume against variety. At one end of the spectrum, you have professional services. Think doctors or high-end attorneys. Here, the volume of clients is pretty low, but the variety of problems they handle is incredibly high. I mean, every single patient is uniquely different, right?
Now follow that flow to the complete opposite end. Here we have mass services, like telecommunications or air transport. Millions of people use them every day, so the volume is sky high, but the variety is very low. You get a standard ticket, a standard seat. Operations managers literally have to design entirely different systems depending on exactly where their business falls here.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Designing Operations, Products, and Processes.
Operations managers don't just sit back and run the system passively. They are essential architects in designing the whole blueprint from day one. On the product side of the equation, you've got the design of the product or service itself, generating the concept, screening it, building out a prototype. Over on the process side, you have the design of the operational systems, figuring out the supply network, the facility layout, the actual job designs. Operations design, sitting right there in the middle, is the crucial integration of both sides. It is where a brilliant, shiny product concept finally meets the harsh physical reality of the supply network and the process technology required to actually bring it to life at scale. When designing these operations, managers have to constantly juggle what we call the 4 V's: volume of output, variety of output, variation in demand, and visibility of output. I really want to highlight that last one, visibility. This basically means how much of the operation the customer can directly observe with their own eyes. Imagine a high-end wedding dress designer creating a gown right in front of the client in a boutique versus a factory worker sewing a t-shirt in a closed warehouse somewhere. High visibility requires entirely different employee skills, totally different customer interaction, and completely different facility layouts, which can massively impact the cost of creating that service.
Finally, Section 5, Total Quality Management, Meeting Customer Needs.
Because, look, having a highly efficient engine is completely 100% useless if the outputs it produces are flawed. So, the crucial point here is captured in this single, incredibly powerful phrase: do things right the first time. This is the core philosophy of total quality management, or TQM for short. And honestly, it is a massive mindset shift. Instead of waiting for a product to roll off the assembly line, checking if it's broken, and then trying to fix it, TQM focuses intensely on preventing the error from ever happening in the first place. Every single employee, from the floor to the C-suite, becomes completely quality conscious.
In practice, quality isn't just one specific department's job. It's a continuous, living loop. At the very center is the interface between the customer and the supplier. That is the absolute focal point. Surrounding that, you have your quality teams, quality systems, and quality techniques communicating constantly. Driven by a really committed culture, this creates a continuous loop of feedback and improvement at every single level of the entire business.
To make sure this isn't just, guesswork, organizations look to international standards, like the ISO 9000 series. This is literally the global playbook for continuous improvement systems. It actually forces companies to rigorously structure their quality across 5 major headings, from strict documentation and management responsibility, all the way through to product realization and constant, relentless measurement. It guarantees that doing things right the first time is a repeatable science, and not just a happy accident.
We've covered a ton of ground today, unpacking the invisible engine that really runs our world. So I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on regarding your own workplace, your own daily tasks. Are you a transformed resource, or are you a transforming one? I promise you, once you start looking at your own job or even just your favorite brands through the lens of operations management, you will never see the business world the same way again. You're going to start seeing the systems, the inputs, and the transformations absolutely everywhere. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.